I never thought a single night could destroy so many lives. It started like any other visit, just a weekend trip to my dad's new house. But before sunrise, I'd stumble into a secret that would twist our family forever. If you're new here, hit subscribe and tap the bell. I share true stories of betrayal and hidden truths every week, and you won't want to miss what happened next. That night, every hallway whisper felt like a warning. Every shadow seemed to know something I didn't. By the time the clock struck midnight, my stepbrother's plan was already in motion, and I was about to be dragged into it, whether I liked it or not. This isn't just a story. It's the night everything changed. Dad's new house sat on the edge of town, half hidden by tall pines and a restless autumn wind. When I pulled up, the porch light flickered like it couldn't decide whether to welcome me or warn me. My stepbrother, Ryan, opened the door. We hadn't seen each other in months, yet he barely offered a hello. His eyes darted past me toward the driveway, as if he expected someone, or something, else. Inside, the air smelled faintly of rain and cold metal. Dad had left for a late shift, leaving the two of us alone. Ryan paced from room to room, his phone never far from his hand. He jumped when a floorboard creaked, then forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I told myself he was just restless, maybe stressed from college. But every clipped answer, every distracted glance tightened a knot in my stomach. Something was off, and I could feel it pressing in like the storm outside. Night deepened. The wind outside rattled the shutters, but inside the house another rhythm caught my attention. A low murmur. The hush of a voice carrying down the hallway. I followed the sound to Ryan's door. A thin line of light glowed beneath it. He spoke in urgent whispers, the kind people use when they're trying not to be overheard. "No. Tonight, she can't know. I'll handle it," he said, before a sudden pause. The floor creaked under me and the conversation cut off. I retreated to my room, heart thudding. Minutes later, footsteps crossed the hall. A slip of paper slid under my door. "Stay out of this." No signature, just those 4 words in sharp, hurried handwriting. I stared at the note until the ink blurred. Ryan wasn't just acting strange. He was hiding something big enough to warn me away. And I had no idea how dangerous the night was about to become. I couldn't shake the note Ryan had slipped under my door. Sleep was impossible. The storm outside throbbed like a warning drum, and every gust of wind carried a question I couldn't answer. Around midnight, I wandered to the kitchen for water. The house was quiet, except for the faint buzz of a phone call echoing down the hallway. I froze. Ryan's voice drifted from the laundry room, low, urgent, strained. "No, listen, she'll be there. Her husband thinks she's working late. Tonight is the only window before he gets back." My breath caught. A married woman. Ryan paused, as though sensing he wasn't alone. "I told you, I've got it handled." "Nobody will know," he whispered, each word clipped like a secret being carved into stone. The conversation ended with a sharp click. He stepped into the hallway, phone in hand, scanning the shadows. I ducked behind the kitchen door. Heart hammering. This wasn't a simple late night meet up. Whoever he planned to meet, it was dangerous. And if the husband found out, The fallout would be explosive. Back in my room, the house felt smaller, the walls heavier. I pressed my ear to the door, listening to his footsteps fade upstairs. A married woman, Ryan, barely out of college, about to entangle himself in something that could wreck an entire family, and our own. I paced. Should I confront him? Call Dad? Pretend I heard nothing? Every option carried a cost. If I warned Dad, Ryan's trust would shatter, and the night could end in a fight none of us could take back. If I confronted Ryan, he might double down. Slip out anyway, angrier and even less careful. But if I stayed silent, I imagined a furious husband arriving with fists, or worse. The storm outside roared, thunder shaking the windows. It felt like the house itself demanded a decision. I thought of our blended family, fragile, still finding its footing. Dad had married Ryan's mom only 2 years ago. We were all still negotiating what family meant. A public scandal or a violent confrontation could tear that thin fabric apart for good. I grabbed my phone, thumb hovering over Dad's name, then Ryan's. My chest tightened. What if I called the wrong person and made everything worse? A floorboard creaked upstairs. Ryan was moving again, maybe getting ready to leave. I clenched the note he'd slid under my door. Stay out of this. Those words burned in my palm. He knew I'd be curious. Maybe he counted on it. Lightning flashed, bright enough to paint the hallway in stark white. I took a deep breath. Either I let him walk into a night that could destroy multiple lives, or I risked our uneasy sibling bond to stop him. The clock read 12:37 a.m. I made my choice. The house fell silent again, but I couldn't shake the certainty that Ryan was about to slip out. I cracked my bedroom door. A faint creak echoed from downstairs, followed by the soft metallic click of the front lock. Through the window, I caught a glimpse of him in a dark jacket, hood pulled tight against the rain. He moved fast, like someone running from more than weather. Instinct overrode hesitation. I grabbed my keys and phone, heart racing. If he was going where I feared, I needed to know, if only to keep disaster from reaching Dad before morning. The storm had thinned to a misty drizzle, but the streets gleamed slick and treacherous. I kept my headlights low and followed at a careful distance. Ryan's taillights glowed red through the fog, weaving toward the city. After 20 tense minutes, he turned into the driveway of an upscale hotel, the kind with a marble lobby and guarded parking gate. My pulse spiked. This wasn't a casual coffee meetup. I parked a block away and slipped through a side entrance as a departing guest held the door. The scent of polished wood and expensive perfume filled the air. Behind the front desk, a chandelier glittered like a warning. Ryan disappeared into an elevator just as the doors closed, leaving me staring at my own pale reflection. I jabbed the next elevator button, my mind racing. What room was he headed to? And who would be waiting? On the 3rd floor, I stepped into a carpeted hallway lined with heavy oak doors. Silence, except for the distant hum of ventilation. I tried to replay what I'd glimpsed. Did he press a floor button higher than mine? I walked slowly, ears tuned for any sign. A soft laugh drifted from the far end, followed by a door latch clicking shut. Then I saw it room 317, door ajar for half a second before closing. A shadow passed across the peephole. My gut told me it was him. I approached, heart pounding, and knocked lightly. The door swung open faster than I expected. But it wasn't Ryan. A tall man in a tailored coat filled the frame, eyes sharp and questioning. Behind him, I caught a glimpse of a woman pacing the suite, her voice rising, strained with anger. "Who are you?" the man demanded. I'm looking for my brother," I stammered. His expression darkened. "You're with him?" Before I could explain, a phone buzzed on the table inside. The woman snatched it up, her face blanching as she read a text. "Hayes here," she whispered to the man. "The one she's meeting." The man's jaw tightened. He stepped into the hall, blocking my retreat. "Where is he?" I began, but he cut me off. "You tell your brother this ends tonight? No more calls? No more meetings? If he tries again." His unfinished threat hung heavy in the narrow corridor. I nodded quickly, pulse thudding in my ears. He slammed the door with a force that rattled the frame. Backing away, I realized the danger was far larger than I'd imagined. Whoever that couple was, they knew Ryan, and they were ready for a confrontation. Somewhere in this hotel, Ryan was about to walk straight into a storm of his own making. And I was the only one who knew just how explosive it could become. The hallway lights flickered as I hurried toward the elevator, desperate to find Ryan before things spiraled further. A sudden crash echoed from somewhere below. A door slamming, voices rising in sharp, furious bursts. I followed the sound to the lobby. There he was, Ryan, standing near the entrance with a woman in a crimson coat. Her face was pale, her eyes darting toward the revolving door. Before I could call his name, the doors spun open. A man strode in, rain dripping from his coat, eyes blazing with betrayal. His arrival sucked the air out of the room. "Claire!" the man barked. The woman flinched. Ryan stiffened. The lobby turned into a stage of frozen stares. The man's voice dropped to a cold hiss. "So this is him." Claire tried to speak, but words failed. Guests stopped to watch, the hotel staff hovering at a cautious distance. Ryan took a single step forward. "You need to calm down," he said evenly, but his clenched fists betrayed the fear under his calm facade. "Calm," the husband snapped. "You think sneaking around with my wife gives you that right?" The room vibrated with tension. A security guard approached, radio crackling. Claire finally broke the silence, pleading with both men to stop. But the truth was already loose, impossible to gather back. The husband's voice cracked like thunder. "It's over. Both of you." The words sliced through the lobby, leaving nothing but stunned quiet and the echo of shattered trust. By the time I coaxed Ryan out a side exit, the drizzle had turned into a cold, relentless rain. We hurried to my car, the distant wail of a siren chasing us through the night. Inside, Ryan slumped against the seat, soaked and silent. For a long stretch of road neither of us spoke. The hum of the heater felt deafening. Finally, he whispered, "I never meant for her to get hurt." "You nearly tore apart two families," I said, gripping the wheel. "Do you understand what could have happened back there?" His eyes stayed on the passing streetlights. I don't know what I thought. She said her marriage was over. When we reached home, the house was dark, but the quiet wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, like it already knew what we'd done. Morning brought no relief. Claire's husband had called our father, his voice a mixture of anger and disbelief. By noon, the entire tangle of lies was out: secret texts, late night meetings, the hotel confrontation. Dad's face when he confronted Ryan was something I'll never forget. Not fury, something worse. Disappointment so deep it seemed to drain the light from the room. "We built this family on trust," Dad said, voice low. "And you, both of you, kept this from me." I tried to explain that I'd only followed to keep things from exploding, but the damage was done. Ryan accepted the fallout in silence. Mom cried. Dad paced. The fragile unity we'd worked for since the wedding cracked down the middle. In the days that followed, conversations turned to whispers. Meals became quiet, careful negotiations. We were all present. But the warmth was gone, like a house whose foundation had shifted overnight. Looking back, I realized the night at the hotel wasn't just the end of Ryan's secret. It was the moment our family learned how quickly one choice, one lie, can unravel everything we believe is unbreakable. The following weeks felt like living inside an echo. Every conversation in the house carried a shadow. Every quiet moment reminded us of what had been said in that hotel lobby. Ryan withdrew first. His laughter, once the loudest sound in the room, disappeared. He avoided family dinners, skipped his college classes, and spent long hours staring at the backyard as if he could rewind time by sheer will. The outside world didn't stay silent either. Claire's husband had friends in high places, and soon whispers about the confrontation leaked into their social circle. One awkward phone call reached Dad's work. A neighbor mentioned trouble at the hotel with a knowing glance. Dad kept his voice calm, but I could see the strain in his shoulders. "Mistakes can follow you," he told Ryan one night. "But hiding only lets them grow." I watched my stepbrother nod, but his eyes carried a weight I couldn't lift. The punishment wasn't a grounding or a lecture, it was the slow erosion of trust. Every time a phone rang or a door opened unexpectedly, we all flinched. Our family was still standing, but it felt like a house after an earthquake: walls upright, foundation cracked. I'd like to say time healed everything, but that would be a lie. Even now, months later, the memory of that night plays on a loop: the storm, the hotel lights, the look on that husband's face when truth ripped the room apart. I've replayed my own choices too. I followed Ryan out of fear, but also out of curiosity. An uncomfortable truth I can't fully admit at the dinner table. If I had spoken up earlier, maybe none of this would have unfolded. Maybe Claire would have chosen differently. Maybe Ryan wouldn't carry this scar. Some nights, I still wake to the sound of phantom thunder, convinced the door is about to slam again, and sometimes I wonder if my silence made me just as guilty. The family has settled into a careful rhythm. Polite, functional, but never quite whole. Dad and Mom speak of moving forward. Yet there's a pause after the words, as though we all know some pieces were lost for good. I keep the memory of that night like a stone in my pocket, a reminder of how fragile trust can be. When people ask about my family, I smile and say we're fine. But deep down, I carry a confession no one else hears. I was there when everything cracked. I watched it happen, step by step, And I can't decide which haunts me more: what Ryan did, or the fact that I let it unfold in silence.